Welcome into College Football Smothered and Covered for a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. My name's Barrett Salee. Appreciate you checking out the show. We're going to have a busy show today. Jake Crain from Crain and Company. You can watch it on the Daily Wire. You can hear his podcast on Apple, Spotify. Longtime friend. He's coming on the show to talk a little bit about quarterbacks around the world of college football. He will also talk about the Auburn Tigers, who had their spring game on Saturday. We'll take a little bit of a look at what Hugh Freeze did during spring and maybe what he has to do in the transfer portal and beyond. That'll be a great conversation with Jake, so make sure to check that out. And like I say, every single day, every single week, every single month on this show, go check out every podcast out there, every YouTube show out there, including Crain and Company on Daily Wire, but also everything across the Believe Network. Anybody else out there outside of the Believe Network, everybody here is providing you college football content, the college football content you need 24/7, 365. So make sure you go everywhere. Look, we're all one family, right? If you're watching or listening to one podcast, you're probably going to want to listen to another and another and another and another. That's a good thing. That's a good thing here in the new media world. A reminder, go to breakingt.com/smothered and covered. breakingt.com/smothered and covered. This is a great Arkansas shirt that I'm showing on the screen right now. No, we're not going to talk about the news from the basketball program out there in Fayetteville because this is a college football show. But let's be honest, we all know what's happening in Arkansas basketball after Musselman left to go to USC. Might be an upgrade out there. You know what is an upgrade? This Arkansas football shirt to your wardrobe, to your closet. Go check it out. breakingt.com/smothered and covered. You can get all of the college gear you want, whether it be shirts, coffee mugs, whatever, viral shirts from things that happened 2 hours ago, or awesome shirts like this, old school face mask for the Razorbacks. So go to breakingt.com/smothered and covered and check all of that out. Joined now by a good friend, karaoke partner, an absolute baller on the Daily Wire. You know him from Crain and Company. He is Jake Crain. Jake, man, what's going on? How are you?
Well, Barrett, I'm doing great. I just got to let you know, every time I'm doing something that involves smothered and covered, I'm either coming on the show to chop it up with you, or I'm at Waffle House and telling him what to put on my hash brown. So it's a win-win for me, my friend. But no, in all seriousness, man, loving what you're doing. Congrats on all the success. And as always, you know, it's an honor to have you on our show, and it's an honor to come on yours.
Well, I appreciate it. But here's the secret with Waffle House. Texas bacon cheesesteak platter. Everyone goes for the waffle. Pros go Texas bacon cheesesteak platter. Now, I have peppers to my hash browns. Do whatever you want, but definitely smothered, covered. You want to go chunked. You want to go whatever. But what is your go-to at Waffle House? I got to know.
I mean, look, I hate to be, you know, just the ordinary run-of-the-mill guy, country boy, but I go with the All-Star Special. You know,
it's solid.
It's one of those. It is solid. Again, I'm from the if it ain't broke, don't fix it school, but I tell me that again. The Texas bacon cheesesteak platter. Is that what you said?
Texas bacon cheesesteak platter.
I love all those things.
It will absolutely change your world. I mean, it will change your world. It is phenomenal.
I'm going to have to go to Waffle House after this and get it, though. That sounds like a good change up.
It's and now here's the thing with the All-Star. To me, it's like going to Chili's and getting a burger, right? You know what you're going to get. It's going to be solid. It's not the best burger you're ever going to have, but you know you're going to be completely satisfied and happy when you leave.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to go on a quest. I mean, I'm with it. I'll go on that quest with you. You know, I'll go exploring. I'll Christopher Columbus this thing. But no, man, I'm gonna seriously have to try that.
It's solid. It's solid. All right, so let's talk some college football. I went to Auburn. You know Auburn very, very well. They had their spring game on Saturday. What did you make of Auburn in terms of where they're going to be this year? Did you learn anything about that team that truly matters from that spring game?
Well, look, you know, spring games are important. I don't want to lower the importance level of a spring game, but the main thing you want to do is come out of it healthy. Obviously, yes. you don't want any big injuries. We always see a big injury, whether it be up front, whether it be at a skill position. You know, South Carolina last year lost their left tackle during spring. So it seems like Auburn got through it relatively healthy. That's number one. Number two is you obviously want to see the new guys, the young guys playing in the stadium in front of, while it won't be the biggest crowd, it's kind of a game-like atmosphere for them. You prep it like a game. You see how they react. who can handle the moment, who may not be ready, and when their number gets called, who can make a play while everybody's watching. Some guys, and we all know this, especially if you played or coach, there's guys that are practice All-Americans. That's a real thing. But then they get in the game and they turn into Drew Barrymore from 51st Dates and just forget. Then you have other guys who may not be the best practice player, but all of a sudden those lights come on and they turn into Optimus Prime. So you kind of find maybe the new guys, it's good experience either way. And then kind of the superlatives I was looking at, that I thought, you're going to be very base in what you do. You don't want to show a lot. It's going to be very peanut butter and jelly. I thought Auburn was somewhat peanut butter and jelly. Payton Thorne looked about like Payton Thorne to me. I didn't see a huge jump. I didn't see a big regression. But at the end of the day, you're going up against a defense that knows your calls. I mean, I've done it. You have some guys that try and hide stuff, but you're base, plus they know your calls. So I don't put too much into that. I thought the defensive line, just from a fundamental standpoint, I like the way the game sounded. Sometimes I'll just close my eyes and listen to it, and you can tell by the way those pads pop who's getting off the ball, who's using their hands, who's finishing the tackle. Are they rallying to the ball? I liked what I saw there. But if you're going to pick one thing, I mean, Cam Coleman is him. I mean, he's him.
He is.
That was one of the biggest questions, because look, Auburn has pieces. I think the offensive line is going to be fine. I didn't think they were great, but again, it's peanut butter and jelly. Watching Cam Coleman, whether it's against press, whether he's getting off coverage, watching him being able to recognize coverages, I thought, mid-route, being able to run full speed and know what you're looking at. We know physically he can do it all, but he just looks different. Auburn has guys that have had great body types, but haven't done anything. Let's be honest. I'm still waiting on Camden Brown, who looks like you just sent him to Crain and he could end the war in 30 minutes, but he's not making plays during the game. Cam Coleman, I think, along with some of these other young guys I'm excited to see when they get here. Perry Thompson's a little raw, but Cam Coleman, I think, has a chance to maybe be what a lot of us thought he could be, even as a young guy. So I thought it was good. You were healthy. I give it a solid B. A solid
there
B.
You go. I like it.
I think that's about where I'd put it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Auburn should be contractually obligated to have a Cam on roster all the time, kind of like a Lockett at Kansas State, because look, Cam, obviously Cam Newton, Cam Artis-Payne, Cam Coleman. I mean, generally speaking, those guys work out. But, to me, Jake, talking to people around Auburn, I mean, and this, and I know this, Auburn people are not patient at all, at all. And I think with Hugh Freeze, the consensus is, okay, you're not going to contend for the SEC this year, and that's fine. But in the history of Hugh Freeze as a college coach, you've had Bo Wallace, you've had Chad Kelly, you've had Malik Willis, right? None of those guys are very good quarterbacks. All of them were very good quarterbacks under Hugh Freeze. And you go back and watch Payton Thorne and you're like, what the hell is this? Right? Yeah. Last year it was like, okay, one drive you'll look like a superstar and run 95 yards against Georgia and complete 4 or 5 passes. And the next one, you're throwing grounders like you're throwing grounders to Orlando Arcia at Truist Park. And to me, it's like, all right, it's not so much the result, it's what it looks like.
Yeah.
After watching that, do you think that Payton Thorne, and this is going to lead to a different question later in the segment, is Payton Thorne even capable of being Bo Wallace, being Chad Kelly, being Malik Willis?
Well, look, I mean, Barrett, this football's it's the ultimate team sport. One guy, you can have Zach Edey and go out there in a basketball game and he can win one for you. He can. In baseball,
he didn't last night.
Didn't last night, but I mean, you were facing basically, a team from Zeta Reticula 4, coached by the Dark Emperor, Dan Hurley. In baseball, you can have a guy go out there and throw a perfect game, and all you need is one run to score in an error, and you can win. You're a product of your environment. But I think the question becomes, and the way you're framing it, I agree with, can Payton Thorne be good enough to go win you games that maybe you shouldn't be able to win? Or can he be good enough to not cost you the big games? And I think the jury's still out on that. I mean, he hasn't shown me any reason to say, wow, this guy has taken a Jason Campbell type step, because he's that old, Barrett. This guy's played a lot of snaps. This isn't some new car that you just took off the line that you're trying to go do donuts in the parking lot for the first time. This guy's taking high leverage, high pressure, meaningful snaps for a long time, whether it be at Michigan State in the Big Ten and now at Auburn, coming off a year last year where you're in some big time moments, and the questions are still the same. I don't think you can sit here and say, wow, I feel so amazingly better about Payton Thorne, because I know he's a great teammate. I know he's a good leader. He wants to work hard. That's great. But at the end of the day, you've got to make the plays in the big games, make those throws that you have to have. And there were moments where he looked good last year. But in aggregate, I still don't think we're at a place where if you're an Auburn fan, you can sit back and say, man, Payton Thorne, he may not be a Pro Bowler. He may not be a top 3-round NFL draft pick, but this guy's going to go win us some games that maybe we wouldn't have if we didn't have him. I hope maybe that step can be made, but at some point when you show me who you are, I have to believe you. And as far as patience, preaching patience to SEC fans or big-time college football fans or fans in general is borderline a waste of time. I mean, it's, fans short for fanatical. We all know that. But I think this year, Auburn doesn't have to be the conversation. They need to be in the conversation. This feels like a year where you're still stockpiling talent. You look at the way that Auburn's recruiting right now. You want to keep that momentum going. Maybe you slip up, beat a couple teams that you're not supposed to. Is that Missouri on the road? Is that one of your rivalry games on the road? We'll see. But this feels like a bridge year to set up for the chance to make a run in 2025 where you get Bama and Georgia at home. You'll have another quarterback developed. You'll be older and bigger on the defensive line and stronger. That secondary will be older. Your young group of wide receivers that are really talented are going to be a year older and a year physically stronger. Now, having said that, I think there's a decent chance Auburn could start 5-0, including beating Oklahoma at home, because it's Jackson Arnold, who I think has all the talent in the world, but this will be his first SEC road game. And that either typically goes one of two ways for young guys. But if Auburn starts 5-0, all that 2025 talk, even if they go lose to Georgia, which they probably will, on the road the next week, you're going to start to see that excitement level bubble to the top, because Auburn will be ranked by then, maybe even in the top 15, which would be good. You want that chance to be in the spotlight. But this year it feels like you don't need to be the conversation. You need to be in the conversation. And then 2025, you bust in the middle of the conversation and start singing a cappella.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's possible with Oklahoma too, because I said on the show last week, I have no opinion of Jackson Arnold. I know in our business, we're supposed to have hot takes one way or the other. And my opinion on Jackson Arnold is, we'll see. He might be all right.
Well, Barrett, it's not just him. And again, I mean, everybody out there listening, if you followed it, you know how this goes. I always say, if you're in a big time conference, right, and you have a brand new young starting quarterback, you've got to become a surfer, right? Yeah. You've got to ride the waves, the highs and the lows. You're going to see Nico at Tennessee with the same thing. Go around the rest of the conference. All these new young quarterbacks.
Hey, whoa. Nico's winning the Heisman, the Masters, the World Cup.
I think he's got a better chance than Joe Milton. Last year, everybody was acting. I was sitting here telling people.
Me and you were on that train from the beginning. It was, that was insane.
Barrett, I was amazed. And we see this every year. And I watch NFL scouts and GMs do this. They'll reach on a quarterback in the draft because he looks good throwing in his underwear and he can hit a golf cart at the Manning Passing Academy from 70 yards. You got to be able to throw a slant, dog. I'd rather you have the arm strength of Kellen Moore and be able to operate at that level than have one pitch and go out there and eventually, like we've seen with Joe Milton almost every year, and I know he's been hurt, you get your job taken. So I think Nico's ceiling is incredibly high. I'm talking about dining room of the Titanic high, but there's going to be highs and lows, and that's part of having a young quarterback. Oklahoma's going to be fine, but Jackson Arnold, he's going to wow you, and he's going to owl you. That's just how it works with a young quarterback in this league.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. So we're going to go up north, the defending national champion. You get to hang out with Michigan legend David Cohn every weekday on the Daily Wire on Crain and Company. It's a very interesting year with all the coaching turnover and obviously the folks leaving for the pros, whether it be McCarthy or Corum, whoever. They get Donovan Edwards back. I would say from a coaching standpoint, there's some assistants that are gone, but you know what you're going to get from Sharon Moore. At least what we saw last year, he was successful. In the 12-team playoff era, let's put it in that context. In the 12-team playoff era, where should Michigan be this year? And I think beyond, we all know they should contend for a national championship. But is this one of those years where it's like, all right, if you get to the playoff, cool. And things go beyond that, that's a bonus.
Yeah. Well, look, you're never playing with house money, right, at Michigan, and now you've let the fans sip from the cup of champions, and they're going to want – you don't go eat filet mignon and then just settle for bad steak anymore. So you're still going to have that high expectation level. Obviously, you can hear my dogs. They obviously agree with me. Somebody pulled up. But when I look at Sharon Moore and this team, I always look at the personnel first. Because, Barrett, there's been great coaches that look like idiots because they didn't have good enough personnel. There's been bad coaches that look like geniuses because they just had better players than everybody. You hope to get a mixture of both. But I think with what Michigan lost, not only at quarterback, right, not only from a leadership standpoint with guys like Blake Corum and a couple of those guys on defense, even though the defense does return some pieces, it's up front on the offensive line. How far along are they going to be with the development of some of the younger guys after losing a big portion of really their heartbeat, which was that offensive line? I think if you're a Michigan fan, it's a wait-and-see approach with Sharon Moore this year, but you can't throw in the towel if they end up not making the playoff. And if they end up starting off really, really hot, you can't sit here and hold this team to the same standard as the team the year before because it's just different. And you're coming off a national title. You know, I ask David this all the time. And, you know, if you're an Auburn fan in 2010 going into 2011, you know you lost Cam Newton. You know you lost a big part of what won. So there's an understanding there. But with what I think Ohio State's going to do this year, it's obviously a massive year for Ryan Day. The Michigan fans are going to want to return on that and a comfortability return, right? I know Harbaugh's gone and these guys are gone, but we're still good. What I do like for Michigan down the stretch is stability is worth its weight in gold today in college football. And with Sharon Moore, you got a guy that's test-driven the car in big-time races already. You know what he can do. He's going to call the plays. The meeting times are going to be the same. The practice structure is going to be the same. There's not going to be a ton of change for the guys that have already been there, and it's a familiar voice that they're hearing. So I think Michigan's going to fall back a little bit this year. You know, I try to hold my predictions until we get through fall camp. I need to know who's hurt. I mean, hell, who transferred?
You need to know who's on the roster at this point.
Yeah, like I don't even know who's on the team, but I think it's going to be somewhat of a regression. I think if they make the playoff, it would be a very impressive coaching job, especially with who's coming in the Big Ten now this year. Agreed. With Oregon and the rest of those, you know, UCLA and USC and Washington. But I think they missed the playoff, but barely. But you still have a lot of hope going forward. I think it was a good hire. I think it was a smart hire.
Yeah, I think it was smart. Sometimes the easy option is the right option. You know, we talk about Occam's razor on the show all the time. You know, you don't have to get creative. Just do the smart thing. And I think they did that. And I think for Michigan, yeah, you know, if you don't make the playoff this year, okay, that sucks. It's disappointing a little bit because you're not enjoying what the playoff brings all the time. And so I disagree with you on USC being much of a threat. But
well, not USC, but yeah. Oregon for sure.
Yeah. Or Oregon for sure. There's no doubt about it. And so it's going to be fascinating. So I'm going to play a game that I just made up 5 seconds ago. It's called Will They or Should They? And I just made that up again. We're going to talk about transfer portal quarterbacks.
Okay.
Because the portal opens up, what is today? April 9th. 6 days from now, we have a portal. I'm going to tell you a team. You tell me, will they go after a quarterback? And should they go after the quarterback? Two of them. All right. You got to answer it both ways. All right. The Auburn Tigers.
I don't think they will because I don't think a made man is going to enter the portal that's good enough to usurp everybody. Because I don't think you're entering the portal after spring because it went great where you were. There's not a lot of guys that won the quarterback job in spring. Maybe at a lower level that a guy's really talented and there may be something out there where he could go and have a chance to move up and play and start. But I don't think the right guy will be there, so I don't think they will, and I don't think they should. You don't just go get a guy to go get a guy unless it is just an absolutely unmitigated disaster. And while Auburn doesn't have the best quarterback room, I don't think they're at that lowest point where they need to, unless some golden arm miraculously ends up in the portal. I don't think they will, and I don't think they should.
See, I think there will be a golden arm. I think there will be several golden arms. Really? I don't think this is going to be like last year where you had Tyler Buckner and Payton Thorne. And, you know, because I think last year, a lot of coaches, Hugh Freeze included, Nick Saban included, misdiagnosed how things were going to go. I think they thought that there would be more more guys to choose from, a greater menu, so to speak. God, we're all over the food analogies in this show today.
Yeah, well, I got another one for you here in a second. You're gonna love.
But yeah, I mean, I think there might be a chance for a lot of teams to go get quarter, and part of that's the domino effect, I think, from Saban too. Saban leaves, you have Washington, Arizona, South Alabama, Buffalo, like all those teams sort of trickle down from there. So I think there will be a lot of quarterbacks, certainly more action in this portal than there was last year in the spring portal window.
Well, Barrett, let me ask you this though. Like, okay. I'm not saying I don't think there'll be action, but I'm looking around at some of these teams. Who has a backup quarterback right now in their quarterback room that is just better than anything that Auburn has? Like, now, I think you can supplement places. This is why I call this the check cola. There's another food or drink analogy, the check cola portal window area, because listen, Coca-Cola is not hopping in the portal after spring unless something crazy happens or a coach leaves or gets fired or there's a scandal. That's an anomaly. It just feels like this is hey, this tackle just got in there. We only have 6 guys that we feel good about on the offensive line. Let's go try and scoop this guy up to supplement us here, or maybe a tight end or a wide receiver. But, to your point, even last year, there's always those 1 to 2 surprises. And if that guy hops in, that'll change the calculus. But at this point, I mean, I feel like this portal window is again, the kind of the check cola, which, listen, I love a check cola. All right. I love Faygo. I love check. I'm not too high class not to go down there and get some check cola, but I'm going to use that to supplement my drink fridge in the garage. That's not going to be on the top shelf of what I'm pulling out of the fridge before dinner.
I like that. I like the cola analogy is very good.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. You're doing well. We're following each other. We're like back and forth. It's like tennis or pickleball of food analogies here.
It's beautiful. Dueling pianos.
There you go. All right, let's go with Florida and Graham Mertz.
Man, to be honest with you, I don't think they should touch it. I don't think they will, or
I don't
they
think
should.
So either.
Yeah, I think Graham Mertz, and listen, Florida has caught a lot of hell, and it's deserved. Right. And I was just down there in Gainesville. We were doing an event and people were asking what's wrong. I think it's not just that they've lost because the expectation is so high in Florida. It's the way they've looked unorganized and lost. Having guys with the same jersey number out there on 4th and 4 against Utah.
It's the top-down structure.
It's the top-down structure. It's the organization, right? The procedural stuff, the sideline stuff. But I think Graham Mertz was one of the best surprises in college football last year. It fooled me, Barrett. It fooled me.
Me too.
Because watching him at Wisconsin, right, coming into Florida, I was like, listen, this guy is going to be average at best, mid, whatever the young kids are calling it. And I thought, for lack of the better term, I mean, he showed his ass in a good way. I thought he really handled himself well. Now, it's nice when you have Ricky Pearsall and some of these other guys that can go out here and make these Ripley believe it or not catches. But he wasn't afraid. He didn't back down. He stood in there and took the hits. And then you got a young guy in DJ Lagway that I think can learn from Graham Mertz. It is a great mentor for to have, because I think he's got a chance to be special. They were a top 50 offense, I believe, last year. I'm a lot more worried about Florida's defense, even with ETN leaving, than I am about the offense. So I think that's one of the very few areas where it's the drum set rule off Step Brothers. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Why would you mess up something that you have a present and a future? I think Billy Napier should feel good about the quarterback room, but man, that's about it.
See, I'm going to throw a curveball with you, and I think it's something that you might not have thought about. What if somebody else is so excited about Mertz, they lure him to their campus, and at the same time, Mertz feels pressure from DJ Lagway?
Yeah.
Well, now we're spinning the whole carousel.
If that happens, Billy Napier needs to be fired. If you're the starting quarterback of Florida and you get lured to go somewhere else when you're the guy. Now listen, if DJ beats him in spring, different story.
He's out.
Different story. Because your time's running out, right? It's like that movie with, where it shows you how much time you have left to live or whatever. Like your time's running out, even though you can play 30 years in college now. That's a different story. But I think that the dominoes are, and you always want the best player to play, but the dominoes are setting up really well for DJ Lagway down the road. And because you can play in half the season now and not burn a red shirt. So it's not like he's not going to get reps. In that case, that would not shock me if he left. But if that does happen, it's either going to be really, really good for Florida or really, really bad. So, look, in today's world of college football, who knows? But I do feel like Graham Mertz is pretty solidified.
Yeah, I do too. And that's kind of why I asked. It's like, of all the things we say about Florida and how much of a disaster it is, it kind of has one of the healthiest quarterback situations in the conference
It
and the
really
country,
does.
even.
It really
It's
does,
really
which is a
bizarre.
good start.
Which is very much a good start. All right, we're going to go out west for a couple more before we let you go here. USC has Jaden Miava and Miller Moss. Critical year, going to the Big Ten. Lincoln Riley needs to find his dudes that can move. Miller Moss is not necessarily that guy. Jaden kind of is, but none of them are Kyler. None of them are Baker. None of them are Jalen Hurts. And that's generally how Lincoln has been successful. Does he go get a quarterback, and should he go get a quarterback?
I hate to keep answering the same way, but no, I mean, after what you saw from Miller Moss last year, he's got a little bit of Stetson Bennett in him to me. If you kind of watch the way he operates, not a huge guy. I think he's got a lot of moxie, but Moava from Arizona,
But that's the Joe Milton effect.
It is, and we got to see more. But I just like I like the way he handled himself. But when it comes down to the Arizona kid, I think he brings a level of toughness that this offense hasn't had, including with Caleb Williams. The flash and the sizzle hasn't been USC's problem. They got that. It's Cirque du Soleil. They're just not tough. They're just not a tough football team. And I think that starts at the quarterback position. You can't on one hand sit here and say, well, the quarterback sets the tone for the whole team, including the defense. But well, he's not a super tough guy, so let's not hold the defense accountable for that. I think USC needs a mindset change. I think they need an identity shift. That's not changing the play calls. I mean, hell, Lincoln Riley wants to run the ball and play action off the power. That's what he wants to do. But just from a mindset standpoint, I think Jaden gives them a toughness angle. And going into the Big Ten, when you've got to go play the Iowas and some of these teams that are really just built on toughness, there is no flash, there is no sizzle. It's meat and potatoes. You need a guy that can go in there. And you know what? If he's got to run somebody over to get somebody going, or if he's got to bring that element that USC hasn't had, I think he's the guy to do it. That's not to say Miller Moss can't be a guy that goes out there and throws the ball around and slings it and shows some of the elements we've seen from other guys. But there's just something about the mindset that has to change for USC, or we're going to keep seeing this rinse and repeat of really good offense, can't tackle somebody in a phone booth that they're in a wheelchair, and it just costs you. You have no balance, right? You got to, balance keeps you on the beam. So,
and Lincoln Riley doesn't even try.
Doesn't even try. I wonder how much he actually goes over and watches the defense.
Like, I don't think he even knows they exist.
I've seen this happen before. I've seen teams get split, and you almost have two head coaches. The head coach, who's an offensive guy, who actively roots for the offense during practice, that's calling the plays, that's putting the game plan together, and then the defensive coordinator that's having to go in here and make sure the guys on defense know, hey, you got a leader too.
You matter too.
Yeah, you matter too. I mean, in the NFL, you can be a little bit different, but in college, that's why I would love to go watch a USC practice. I'd like to see how he kind of operates on both sides of the ball, right? So I don't think they will, and I think Jaden's going to end up being the guy.
All right, last one. Washington has a bunch of young players and one of them Jed Fish lured from Arizona when Jed got that job. You also have Will Rogers from Mississippi State, who, to me, was more a product. All of his stats are products of the system under Mike Leach than proof that he's an elite quarterback. Where do they go?
I think this will be a team that if they can hop in and go get a guy, they should go get a guy for a couple reasons. Jed Fish is not Kalen DeBoer. They do not have Michael Penix. You can't sit here and think you're going to see the exact same system that you've seen under DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, who's obviously now in the NFL. It's going to be totally different. And Jed does it his own way, and it works. But one of the main reasons I think is because Will Rogers can't stay healthy, Barrett. Like he can't. You can't sit in. He's already got a shoulder that's not going to be close to 100%. I mean, he's played for feels like 30 years in the SEC. So if my shoulder hurts, I'm pretty sure that his does. But I don't think
mine makes three unique clicking sounds.
I mean, literally, it sounds like opening a screen door every time I lift my arm up. But when I look at the health that I think that room has. Not and again, you lost, the 6'6" kid transferred to Bama, which they're really excited about. So you don't have him waiting in the wings. I think you got to go jump in the portal and grab a guy if he's there. But again, Barrett, you can only get what the market bears, right? So do you go sign a guy just to say, hey, listen, we're worried that we don't have the numbers or the quality bodies in case this guy gets hurt? Then I can understand it. But if you go out there just to get another guy that's average, you're going to do nothing but create more problems in that room. So if out of all the teams you listed, I think Washington would be definitely at the top of the list to go get a quarterback out of the transfer portal, not only out of necessity, but out of if the market allows them to go get a guy that's better than they already have.
100% agree. I 100% agree. And you're going into a Big Ten. You have to make a statement right now.
Yeah.
Right this very second, that last year was not an aberration. You are not a product of a lousy conference because the Pac-12 wasn't lousy, but the perception will be that it was down the road. 2 years from now, we're going to forget that they had quarterbacks all over the place in the Pac-12. We will only remember that it was the last year of the Pac-12. So I think it's imperative too for Washington.
Well, not only that, Barrett, to add on the superlative, if you're Jed Fish, it's prison rules. I mean, you're taking over for a guy that left to go to a prettier girl. You got to walk in there and say, listen, it's not going to change. I'm going to punch the biggest guy day one. This isn't here we go. We're just going to shrink to irrelevance now that because it was Kalen DeBoer. It wasn't Washington. Look, Washington think top 10 in the country on money spent on athletics. They're not messing around out there. So Jed Fish has something to prove. He took that job for a reason, and Washington fans feel like they got left at the altar a little bit, and sometimes you need a hero, man.
It's 100% accurate. Jake, appreciate you hopping on. Let everyone know how they can follow you, how they can get you on the Daily Wire.
Definitely. Well, I always love coming on and chopping it up with you, man. I'm about to head to Waffle House and get that Texas bacon cheese platter that you just brought up. I've been thinking about that the whole time. But yeah, look, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whether you watch or listen, we're at the Daily Wire too as well. It's Crain and Company, CRAIN and Company. We just live streamed the national championship game in basketball. We have a lot of fun. If you like Barrett, you're definitely going to like us. So Barrett, I appreciate it, buddy, and really enjoy what you're doing.
I appreciate you hopping on. Go watch Lady Ballers, everybody, too.
Oh, yeah. Paid actor.
Fantastic actor.
Yeah, take that,
Got
Mom.
a SAG card and everything. Jake,
I know, right? Yeah, I can't believe I didn't win an Oscar, but that's all right.
Not yet. Maybe you will.
Not yet. I'm going to be Batman in 3 years. Remember I said that.
Batman in 3 years. Jake, appreciate it.
See you, buddy.
That'll do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. I appreciate you checking the show out. Jake Crain from Crain & Company, appreciate you coming on as well. And like he said, you can go to Daily Wire and watch his show pretty much any day of the week. Every morning, it'll be up there on Daily Wire, so subscribe there. Go check that out as well. And hey, you know what? Give this show some love. 5 stars. 1 star, whatever. I want to know what you think of the show. I want to know what you think we can do better, what we're doing too much of, all of that. So please do that as well. No information is bad information. All information, all reviews are good reviews. So please go do that. I would really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.